number you have reached.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
From college football to the NFL to high school football.
365 days a year.
Hear it all on Jackson Sports Authority.
Live and local.
At 105.9 The Zone and online
at thezone1059.com.
Now let's get back to the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly.
Hour two of the program. Can I just act like I've been here for an hour? Sorry. Dealing with a bunch of kids drama. Schools calling, kids drama, all kinds of stuff. But hey, we're here. We're here for 2 hours, streaming on the zone1059.com, and we're ready to go. Brought to you by Ameristar Casino. Get out and play today. And, of course, enjoy Ameristar Casino. 4 great restaurants, all the TVs you need for March Madness coming up, and all the sports you love at Ameristar Casino. Stay, play, and dine at your premier gaming destination, Ameristar Casino Hotel. Call us 601-897-1059. That is the Malone Roofing caller line. ecmalone.com is their website. 8337-MALONE. Commercial, residential roofing done right with Malone Roofing Services. You can always text us on the Cowboy Maloney's text line, 601-885-3776. Make your house a home today with Cowboy Maloney's. 13 locations around the state of Mississippi. Online at cowboymaloneys.com. And let's see here. Where is, let me look real quickly. I am looking because we got some other new promotions going on at Cowboy Maloney's. I want to make sure to get those out to you. And where did that go? Here we go. Out-of-box savings. Out-of-box savings. Stretch your tax. What do we do? What are you doing with the bell? I've never seen you touch that bell like that. We're not getting rid of that thing.
Touch the bell like that. Like I'm inappropriately touching the bell.
But it's sat there for 5 years.
Yes, I know. It's been 5 years. It's time to move.
We can't get rid of the bell.
Move, Jake.
Oh, okay.
Not get rid of. I figured, hear me out, it has been 5 years because I remember you ordered that at our weirdo trip to Memphis.
And like 1 a.m. in the morning?
Yeah, that was February 16th, 2019. So anyway, 5 years later, it's been here. And I noticed yesterday, I don't like this. It felt a little, it didn't feel like a strong sound.
Weathered.
So, yeah. So, I'm going to put it over here because, I keep the mic over here. It'll get a louder sound.
Okay. All right. Very good. I was like, wait a minute. What are we doing over there? Hey, stretch your tax refund dollars. Do it at Cowboy Maloney's. Out-of-box savings. Deeply discounted prices. Financially available type stuff, all kinds of stuff going on. Look for an orange tag and save. And, of course, if you get their emails, you get that. Go to the website as well, cowboymaloneys.com. Out-of-box savings up to 36 months interest-free. And we're also on X, brought to you by Clinton Body Shop. 2 locations to serve you. Clinton and Richland, OEM factory certified. All the manufacturers you trust at Clinton Body Shop. All right, we'll have Kelley Ford, 4:30 to 5 o'clock. We'll talk college football, a little college basketball. Josh Pate, the late kick, going to be with us at 5:15, talking several things. Pate State will join us. We'll talk a lot of college football. So Mississippi State gets the win last night against Southern Miss. Did you see the Southern Miss player talking trash? How about that? So they just lose to a bunch of mid-majors. This is like their World Series. Like that guy has got guts. Since this is a family show, he's got guts. I like it. I like what he did there. All right, top 10 transfer portal rankings, courtesy of 247, updated. Ole Miss, number 1. And again, these can change a little bit after spring practice when they open the window. We'll see how many, who was it? Somebody on this week. Chris Marler? Somebody, I can't remember. Said that they felt like Alabama was going to hit the portal pretty hard after spring practice. We'll see. Alabama is ranked the 10th best portal class right now. South Carolina 9th. Ohio State 8th. Texas 7th. Louisville, the Cardinals, they've worked the transfer portal well over the last several years. 6th. Colorado at 5. Florida State and Oregon 4 and 3. Texas Tech or Texas A&M, and then Ole Miss is your top portal king, portal winner. Speaking of Oregon, Oregon's going to be really good this year. They were good last year. They lost by 6 points in 2 ball games. Total points lost by 6 points, and you can just say they got Penixed because that's what happened. Michael Penix Jr. is what happened. Couldn't stop Penix, couldn't get the stops at the time. The Washington Huskies get the win. They go to the college football playoff versus the Oregon Ducks. The Ducks are going to be a tough out for most everybody. And Oregon is expected to hire Missouri State wide receivers coach and co-special teams coordinator Dante Ellington as an analyst. Sources tell 247 Ellington helped Missouri State rank 5th in the FCS in passing offense in 2023. So they continue to add staffers and guys that know how to move the ball. I saw this interesting stat on Reddit. The Army men's basketball team, we still got to get into this Dayton story, or Dartmouth. 2023-2024 season has come to a close. Army basketball. They lost to, I don't know who this is, Holy Cross maybe, 84-68. But it says for the 86th year in a row, Army, 86 years in a row, Army will not participate in the NCAA men's basketball tournament. I had no idea that they had that big of a drought in the tournament, but I don't ever just look for Army in the tournament. Army, William & Mary, and the Citadel are the only 3 Division I teams that have been eligible from 1939 to present and still haven't qualified. How about that? So out of all the teams that are Division I in men's basketball, at least once since 1939, everybody has qualified for the tournament except Army, William & Mary, and the Citadel. That was very, very interesting. Also, interesting story out here. Josh Pate put this out earlier today. Chris Lowe reporting that, you remember there was some strong talk of Mike Norvell leaving Florida State and taking the Alabama job. Well, if that would have happened, Florida State was prepared to target Lane Kiffin. Says, in fact, in the wee hours on that Friday morning, the fear among Florida State officials was that Norvell was close to trading his Florida State Garnet for Alabama Crimson. Sources told ESPN that Florida State was poised to move quickly if that happened, and Kiffin would have been the prime candidate. So, do you think Lane Kiffin would have taken the Florida State job over Ole Miss? I mean, we'll never know. What's your gut tell you?
Probably.
I think that he would have considered it. Now, Ole Miss fans go, what? What are you talking? No, that's Florida State. That's Florida State. And look what Mike Norvell has been able to do there in just a short period of time. Now, obviously, Mike Norvell is still at Florida State. Speaking of changing teams, is Hugh Kellenberger running the Egg Bowl from the back end? Shadow running this thing? We had a nice run here of hospitality between Mike Leach, rest in peace, and Lane Kiffin. Zach Arnett was never whatever. And then Jeff Lebby comes in, and then we know the back and forth that more so Kiffin than him. But now Ole Miss has hired Zach Arnett. Did you see this? Zach Arnett is going to stay in the state of Mississippi and head to Ole Miss, and he is going to be an analyst. I believe it's what's going to happen. So does this bring a toxic element back to the Egg Bowl?
No. That was dumb to begin with.
The whole toxic thing?
Toxic. It's toxic.
No, it was very dumb. Very dumb. So Zach Arnett headed to Oxford. Also, some other news out here. Let's see. NFL Combine numbers are in. Scouting Combine reached over 5 million viewers on the NFL Network. Most watched Combine on NFL Network alone since 2018. Coverage of the quarterback, wide receiver, and running backs on field drills averaged 399,000 viewers. It's TV plus any kind of digital format streaming. Most watched Combine 3 days on NFL Network. That was a record. Coverage of defensive linemen and linebackers on field drills up 23% versus last year, and DB and tight end drills up 7% versus last year. Would you like to know who the NFL Network put on this beautiful infograph as the face of the Combine? J.J. McCarthy.
Figured that was coming.
This is inevitable. We have reached that point now. He may go number one. I'm not saying it's right. He may go number one. Do you realize that?
No, let's not get too crazy.
Most mocks have got him up to 3. I mean, he's right there. He went from late first round coming out of the end of the year in college. He's up to 3. And I don't think he's done that much. It's very interesting. 601-885-3776. Let's see real quickly, doggone, before I get a break. Arnett to Ole Miss, question mark. Jolie Dunn, .005, exclamation point. Now, I like what you did there. Hey, we're brought to you by Premier Plastic Surgery. Let Dr. Erica Bass help you today. 601-981-2525. That's 601-981-2525. Mississippi Premier Plastic Surgery. Dr. Bass performs the awake liposuction procedure in the clinic with a local anesthetic, and there's little to no downtime after the procedure. Get ready to look your best this year. Call 601-981-2525. Kelley Ford coming up in 20 minutes.
Okay, we're back. I'm ready. It's more of the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly, where he's live and local on Jackson Sports Authority, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, and online at thezone1059.com.
We're brought to you by Mississippi Legends Grill. It'll be not your grandmother's bingo tonight. Get out and enjoy. Lunch specials daily. You can get the lunch special of the day on Facebook.com/Mississippi Legends Grill. Oh, let's see here. And, of course, Corner Castlewoods Drive and Lakeland Drive. College football report. What are you doing? Was it not right?
I didn't like it.
Okay.
I didn't like it because being over there to the left now, I had to go cross body with the hammer.
We'll just turn.
And the rule, never throw the football crossbody.
Right.
Never ring the bell crossbody.
Yeah, you can just turn it. College football report. Nick Saban says the way Alabama players acted after losing to Michigan in the college football playoffs certainly contributed to his retirement. Is this true? Have you seen this?
Yeah.
I mean, College Football Report has a massive following on X. Quote, I was really disappointed in the way the players acted after the game. You got to win with class. You got to lose with class. And then showing your ass and being frustrated and throwing helmets and doing stuff. He continued, I thought we could have a hell of a team next year. And then maybe 70 or 80% of the players you talk to, all they want to know is 2 things. What assurances do I have that I'm going to play because they're thinking about transferring? And how much are you going to pay me? So I'm saying to myself, maybe this doesn't work anymore. There was a lot of speculation of this. Nick Saban now talking about it. Alabama dynasty's dead. Dead on arrival. DOA. Tide fans, I hope you soaked it up. I hope that you have your DVDs, your YouTube links. I hope you have your shirts, your whatever it is, because where you just walked out of, you will never, and I mean ever, walk back into. Welcome to 8-4 and 9-3 Alabama.
You relish that last 45 seconds. You just relished that.
No,
God, you love any time these days you can say something negative about Alabama, specifically when you can use the words, you Alabama fans, and it pumps your nads.
No, I love Tuscaloosa. I have nothing but respect for Alabama.
You don't like Tuscaloosa because you've since the beginning of time, you've taken shots at their beloved barbecue hut.
No, I think that's overrated. Dreamland is 100% overrated. I think it is. And I'm no barbecue savant, but I can tell you that is overrated. I love Alabama Tuscaloosa. Look, Northport is just right north of Tuscaloosa, home of Deontay Wilder. I mean, I love the whole area over there. It's a great place. I'm just telling you, they're not going to be who they were. And Kalen DeBoer he's got a lot to do. He's got a whole lot to do. Green Okra. Lane Kiffin hiring Arnett to be a defensive analyst at Ole Miss while Mississippi State pays the bulk of his salary via the buyout this year is pretty funny, no matter who you root for. That is true, right? because that is all going on and is a fact. Chief Shooting Bull. If Arnett goes to Ole Miss, he deserves all the petty comments he received at the end of his tenure. Please don't insult the legacy of Jolie Dunn. Yeah. And the whole Jolie Dunn thing is, he coached at both. Coached at State, coached at Ole Miss, or first it was Ole Miss then State. All right, let's see here. More news on the Texans. The Texans and kicker Kaimi Farabarn have agreed to an extension. They're bringing back a lot of people. 3 years, $15.9 million. Are the Texans a legitimate contender for the AFC next year?
No, I'm not going to go that far.
Not ready to do that yet.
It was a really good year, but did not expect that from the coach. Did not expect that from the quarterback. But I'm not ready to go the full AFC. Chiefs still exist. Although they're overrated every year, the Bills are still better than the Texans, I'd say.
By a little bit.
Yeah.
By a nad. Speaking of, Jim laughing at your... Yeah, Jim, he can pull them out. He can pull them out there. He can pull them out of the bag. Magic Mike. Little Willie kicks Dreamland's butt. Yeah, Dreamland was just okay. And this is going to sound terrible, but I really feel like you could go into the old Jitney Jungle or the old Sunflower. Like if you're just out in rural Mississippi, just out around Lloyd Star, and you know how they put the food out? They just if they have ribs down at the Sunflower at Lloyd Star, they'd be about as good as Dreamland. I mean, it's okay. It's just way too much hype. You know what Dreamland is? It's Colorado football.
Huh.
It's Colorado football. Speaking of Colorado football, that's not in this. Let's see. Top 10 head coaches via The Athletic. Bruce Feldman gives his top 10 coaches via The Athletic. Let's look at this. And let's see here first. Monkeys Riding Dogs. Do you remember this? This is Auburn basketball on X. Let me make sure you're not sending me. It says Alabama fans Terry and Stephanie East were the perfect couple. He was a human. Oh, I can't do this. See, we can't do this, can we? Nope, can't come down that road. Sorry, going to have to put a stop on that one. Love you, Monkeys Riding Dogs. All right, top 10 college football coaches. Bruce Feldman has Kirby Smart number 1. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. He has Dabo Swinney at number 2. I love Bruce Feldman, but I feel like he's starting to lose a little credibility with this. Is he number 2? No. Lance Leopold, Kansas, number 3. Now, if you look at Lance Leopold, let's look at his resume. Look at Lance Leopold, and look, he has done some big things. However, a lot of that was at Wisconsin Whitewater. And you look at what he did there. He was a quarterback at Wisconsin Whitewater, but also a head coach. He's got a record of 163-60. He's 3-2 in bowl games, 34-1 in the NCAA Division III playoffs, 6 NCAA Division III championships, 7 WIAC titles, and 2 MAC Eastern Division titles when he was at Buffalo. All of that is well and good, but Kansas has been on Kansas's. If you put in Kansas in the, what is the perception of Kansas football and the expectations? He's probably beaten that for sure. But Feldman is going to put this guy as the 3rd best coach in college football. I can't do that. Another strike against Feldman. Lost credibility. Kalen DeBoer, number 4. I can go with that. Ryan Day, number 5. Are we putting DeBoer over Ryan Day? I'm not. Brian Kelley, 6. I would actually put Brian Kelley above everybody above him except just about Kirby Smart. Kyle Whittingham, Utah at 8. I have no problem. Lincoln Riley at number 9. He's losing traction, and then Mike Norvell at number 10. But again, Feldman doesn't tell you criteria, like how do we arrive here? Because Swinney, there's no way Swinney's the 2nd best football coach over the last 4 years. I mean, just look at the record. Look at it's just not. The real unnamed texture, I agree, Dreamland is a tourist trap. Another one is In-N-Out Burger. Where's the beef? I still haven't had that. Have you had that? I still have not had an In-N-Out Burger, and I think they're actually building another, and nothing wrong with this, chicken establishment in North Brandon. I saw it this morning. Is it Magoo's? Is that chicken?
Yeah, Huey Magoo's.
Yeah. They're building a Huey Magoo's out in North Brandon, across from the Walmart.
Flowood loves their chicken.
I mean, look, here's the thing about Flowood, though. On the south end of 25, that's and there's, again, nothing wrong with this. I love it. Mexican restaurant haven. On the north end, it's chicken haven. So somewhere we got a bridge, and right in the middle is Hartfield, which is weird. Right in the middle is Hartfield Academy. So it's just kind of neat. All right, we'll get Kelley Ford in here. We're brought to you by Bailey Lumber. Go to BaileyLumber.com. Open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Special selections may vary by store. Limited to stock on hand. See store for complete details. 2150 Mississippi Highway 471 in Brandon. 4525 John Lynch Street in Jackson. Drywall, GAF Roofing, specials, lumber, doors, windows, and more. Go to BaileyLumber.com. Kelley Ford coming up next.
This is the home of the Chuck Oliver Show every weekday from 10 till noon on Mississippi's live and local sports authority. And where? We're back to Jake Quimberly with the Afternoon Drive on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Brought to you by A1 Gear and Auto, your hometown vehicle specialist. 15-plus years of great service down in Florence on Highway 49, 601-939-1060. Anything under the hood, radiators, engines, rear differentials, rings and pinions, starters, heat, and your air conditioner. They can do it all at A1 Gear and Auto, 601-939-1060. Kelley Ford, K Ford Ratings on X, kfordratings.com is on your radio. Kelley, welcome in, sir. How are you?
Hey, Jake, I'm doing well today. How are you?
Doing good. Doing really good. As we march towards March Madness, it's going to be fun. We're going to get into some of that in the second segment. Of course, we'll do a lot of that over the next few weeks with you looking at the tournament. I want to talk some college football, though, to start out with. And I kind of want to work off, get your thoughts on some of these teams. Obviously, I know you still got a long way to go, like the rest of us, working on analytics and what these rosters are going to look like. I saw, or somebody on this show, I can't remember who it was I had on the other day, felt like Alabama would probably dip into the portal after spring practice, a considerable amount to try to fill some of these spots. So we'll still have that work to get into. But I want to start with Dabo Swinney and Clemson. And the reason I want to bring them up is because Bruce Feldman of The Athletic released his top 10 college football coaches, and I don't really know where what his criteria is. He still has Dabo Swinney as the second best coach in college football. I tend to disagree with that. If you want to say over the life of a career, you might can make that argument. But Clemson and Dabo Swinney feel like they have a lot of work to do this year to really, and they'll be right there. We'll see. They play Georgia week 1. This is not the same Clemson team we knew 5 years ago, though.
Yeah, Jake, I completely agree with you. And to the point of, where does Dabo fall in the current hierarchy of college football head coaches, it does depend on the time frame that you're going to look at, right? I mean, are you going back here 10 years? Because if so, yeah, he's got the 2 national championships, and not many coaches can speak to that level of success. Or are you going to judge it more on what have you done in the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years? And they made a couple playoffs here within that time frame, but it's certainly fallen off in recent years. And if I look, I'm quickly pulling up my preseason expectations from last year because it lists quickly where I had Clemson at the end of each college football season, and I'm looking at kind of where I think they might be here this year. It is possible and even likely, Jake, that from a power rating standpoint, this is going to be the worst Clemson team that we've seen since maybe 2014. So you're going back a decade, the last time we've seen a Clemson team. They're probably in that 15 to 20 range of power ratings if I had to guess right now what it's going to look like this fall. And the last time they were in that range was 2014. They finished the year number 21 for me. So they're certainly trending in the wrong direction. But I would also say, Jake, Florida State is really the only team, as I quickly look at the ACC composition for next year, and of course it changes with Stanford, Cal, SMU coming in. Florida State's the only team that I'm going to say definitively right now is maybe a higher power-rated team than Clemson. And they do have to go to Florida State in the regular season. They do have Georgia in Atlanta to open the year, as you alluded to. So tough schedule there, tough couple of games, but Clemson's still going to be among the favorites in the ACC. That speaks probably more to the ACC than anything else. But, certainly not the Clemson powerhouse that we've been used to seeing really from that 2015 to 2020-ish time frame.
Kelley Ford talking college football. We'll get some college basketball second segment. K Ford Ratings on X, kfordratings.com. Wednesday edition of the program. All right, not in the top 10, but I do want to stay in the ACC since you brought up Florida State, and I want to move past Florida State and go to Miami because, there's a lot we do know, and it's I've kind of combed through here, and I've got my initial, strength of schedule rankings for a lot of these teams. Miami, when you look at Miami, and you kind of, depending on, you've talked about this off the air, how you calculate it, they've got arguably the best roster with Florida State in the ACC. They've got the quarterback with Cam Ward coming in. Their schedule is very, very manageable. Is it the big thing for me is what about their coaching staff? What about their head coach? I mean, because when you look at his resume, you're talking about a guy that's one game over 500 in his career. Everything when you look at him, it says yes, they should compete for this championship this year. You look at the history of Mario Cristobal and Miami over the last several years. That's what gets in the way. Where are you at way too early with Miami?
I think Miami belongs in that top tier in the ACC as well, Jake, because we mentioned Florida State. We just talked about Clemson. That next team for me, the early look at the power ratings, is going to be Miami. Again, the ACC, if I'm the athletic director at any of those three institutions of the ACC, my expectation is that we are going to be in the top three in the conference football standings year in and year out. There's really not a lot of excuses to be made for those three programs with their recent and historical success and the resources that they have. Now, granted, some have more than others, but those three programs in particular are positioned such that I would expect, if I'm an administrator at those universities, that we're going to be competing for the ACC championship year in and year out in football. You're right. It has not gone to plan at Miami here in recent years. They've been better in recent years. 2023, they were better than they were in 2022, of course, a really down year where they finished number 70 in my power ratings, a shockingly bad year. But even going back before that, number 33 back in 2021, number 18 in 2020, but they haven't finished higher than number 18 in my power rating since 2016. I'm not suggesting that this Miami team's going to come into the year in the top 20, but they could certainly have a team that rounds into form and maybe finds themselves in that 15 to 20 range come the end of the year. So it's possible that we could be looking at the best Miami team if everything goes to plan since maybe 2016.
Bruce Feldman has Lance Leopold on his list at number 3. I tend to disagree with that. I mean, I know that his resume is extremely stellar. You look at what he did, back prior to Kansas when he was at Buffalo, and then of course at Wisconsin Whitewater. Unbelievable, resume there. But when I want to take this past Lance Leopold, though, I've said this. I want your thoughts on this. The Big 12, as it sets the new Big 12, could be, I think, the funnest league to watch because there's no Texas, there's no Oklahoma. They're going to be in the SEC. Yes, Utah comes over, Colorado, Arizona State. But, when you kind of look at Utah, Central Florida, now they're going to have KJ Jefferson, and they worked the transfer portal pretty hard. TCU, Colorado, Texas Tech, Baylor, Kansas State, Oklahoma State. This could be a wide open Big 12 championship run.
Wide open is the exact phrase I would use to describe. Not agree more. I personally, again, a lot of work to be done for the 2024 preseason K Ford ratings. I personally think that right now I'm probably leaning towards Utah as maybe the best power-rated team in the new look Big 12. Of course, they're making their transition from the Pac-12. Kansas State is up there. Arizona, I know they lost Jed Fish. I know he's up at Washington now, but what he had started building there in Tucson, Arizona's a team to watch. Don't count out Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State. They always seem to be in the mix. I'm a big Matt Campbell fan at Iowa State, and they seem to be a team that overachieves relative to the level at which they recruit. It's wide open. I didn't even get to TCU, who's in the national championship game just 2 years ago. Kansas, Leipold, as you mentioned, has done a complete turnaround. The best 2-year stretch we've seen at Kansas since 2007, 2008. It's a wide open conference. There's no historical, traditional blue blood of college football remaining with the departures of Texas and Oklahoma. Somebody or somebodies is going to take this new look conference by the neck and say, this is now ours. We now run the Big 12, and you could go one of maybe half a dozen ways with who that's going to be. I am very excited to see what the Big 12 produces this year. Jake, in terms of CFP, because I know that's always the follow-up, is, well, Kelley, if they have all of these contenders, what does that do for their CFP chances? We could be in a scenario where, like we used to talk about the Pac-12, they all beat each other up in the regular season. They got some good teams, but didn't really get the opportunity in the playoff, except for on a handful of occasions, to have a team in the CFP. Well, now with the expanded CFP, the Big 12 will be represented, of course, but it is possible that you're going to see, 4, 5, 6 teams from either or the Big 10, the SEC. It's possible we get into years where you've got one, maybe only 2 teams from the Big 12, if there is that much parity, and they all knock each other up and beat each other up throughout the regular season.
Kelley Ford, make sure to find him on X at KFord Ratings, also KFordRatings.com. We got to take a timeout. We're brought to you by Rebel Hardware and Rebel Outdoor Power. It's time to crank up those savings on Gravely zero-turn mowers. Rebel, they turned 74 years old. 74 years of customer loyalty didn't just happen. They have earned it. Combine that with 100 years of Gravely American manufacturing excellence, and you've got the best team in Mississippi right now. They got great cash rebates up to $1,500 on brand new Gravely zero-turn mowers. Payments as low as $78. Learn more today at Rebel Outdoor Power. That's Rebel Outdoor Power and Rebel Ace Hardware. Back with more in just a bit.
And action! We got that and a whole lot more around here. It's the Afternoon Drive with Jake Wimberly.
What's the score?
He's got that, along with the hottest sports stories of the day on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Brought to you by Gutter Masters. It is the Afternoon Drive, 601-503-7755. Online at guttermastersllc.com. Get protected. Today, Kelley Ford back with us another segment. Kelley, let's jump into the SEC real quick. We will touch some college basketball here in just a bit. There is no way to know, but everything has changed in Alabama. So much has changed in Alabama. I mean, from the new coach with Kalen DeBoer, also to Eli Gold. This is off the field, but he will no longer be the play-by-play voice, to access for media. Nick Saban spoke candidly about the kind of the attitudes of players after the championship or the semifinal loss to Michigan. What do we know? I mean, how do we quantify? I mean, it feels like an 8-4, 9-3 team, but again, Kalen DeBoer may come in there and blow the doors off the SEC. It could be lackluster. I just don't know that we know.
There's certainly more uncertainty around Alabama this year, Jake, for the points you just alluded to and more than there has been in more than 15 years, since before Nick Saban got there. And Nick Saban, I mean, it took him 1 year. His first year, 2007, had some growing pains. You're turning over a whole program that has all this rich history, and he brought him back from pretty low to the mountaintop again within the first couple of years there. I don't think we can expect DeBoer to come in and have the same level of success that Nick Saban did early on, or for the extended period of time, obviously. But it's not like Nick Saban left this cupboard bare. This Alabama team is still going to be immensely talented. And, if you're looking at it from a power rating standpoint, where they kind of slot in, fringe top 5, certainly still top 10 at this point in terms of what we're thinking. Now, Alabama fans will say, well, my gosh, between 5 and 10, the sky is falling. It's the worst it's been. Well, maybe that's a welcome back to reality in the post-Nick Saban era, where you can't just roll out of bed in August and say we have a top 3 power-rated team this year. They now are kind of playing on a more equal playing field without Nick Saban there on the sidelines and some of those other things you mentioned. So, yes, unknowns for sure. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be different, but there is still a ton of talent in Tuscaloosa. And, you're going down their schedule here. They get Georgia at home during the regular season, have to go to Tennessee. Missouri, that's going to be a good team this year from a power rating standpoint at least. That's a home game before then, of course, the annual game with LSU. That one's on the road. Have to go to Oklahoma this year and then get your rival Auburn at home in the Iron Bowl. It's a very difficult schedule. It is certainly within the realm of possibility that Alabama loses 3 regular season games, which is just crazy. But in the expanded playoff era, 9-3 in the SEC when your brand name is Alabama Crimson Tide, that's maybe still enough, maybe even probably still enough to make a spot in the college football playoff here in 2024.
Let's shift over, talk a little college basketball. We'll have, obviously, mid-major tournaments this week, big tournaments next week. Who's hot? Who's not? What's your K Ford rating say right now?
Yeah, we are in the midst of it, Jake. As you know, I was at a first-round game yesterday for the Horizon League. I'll be at a quarterfinal tomorrow before we shift to Indy for our semis and chance to talk about mid-major madness. It's a lot of fun, but if we're looking nationally here, I still have Houston, Purdue, Arizona, and UConn. The 4 teams that Joe Lunardi's got on the number 1 seed line, those are the 4 teams for me that remain the top 4 teams in my power ratings. And then after that, you got a group of SEC teams down there, Tennessee, Auburn, Alabama. I would not be surprised at all if one, if not more, of those teams makes their way to Phoenix in the Final Four this year. Of course, it all depends on how the bracket shakes out. But, Jake, you asked me about this last week or the week before. A team that's hot, a team that's rising, a team that is not going to have a super good seed but is capable and has the high end of making the run. I'm still looking at Gonzaga. And those that haven't been paying attention to college basketball this year will say, well, of course Gonzaga. It's always Gonzaga. They were on the bubble for quite some time. I think they have now solidified their position in the field, but they are still going to be a low seed by their standards. I mean, we're talking 9, 10 seed range for Gonzaga this year, most likely. They are a top 15 power-rated team for me. So depending on where they fall, if they fall at the 10 line, they probably won't mind that too much. You get the 7 in the first round, you get the 2 in the second round, and that bracket kind of opens up. If you end up on that 8-9 line, that might be a bit more of a challenge because you've got to face a 1 seed in the second round. But Gonzaga's got the high-end talent. They can knock off a 1 seed, I think, in this tournament. That's a team I'm certainly looking at. If Villanova gets in the tournament, they have the ceiling level of play to make a run in the tournament. So I'm giving you kind of some big established brands in college basketball, but these 2 teams are not having the seasons that they typically have for these programs.
Let's finish it up with the SEC. Ole Miss looks like they have worked their way, at least today, out of this thing. How many SEC teams now do you feel might get in this thing? 6, 7? Are we at 8?
I agree with you that Ole Miss they're probably in a position where they might need the AQ to get into the NCAA tournament now. Mississippi State fans should be feeling good, though. I think they're going to be in. So if we just go down quickly the SEC list here, I've got Tennessee, you got Auburn, Alabama, South Carolina, Kentucky, Florida. Those 6, I'll even say Mississippi State. Those 7, I think, are certainly going to hear their names called on Selection Sunday, many of which are going to have really good seeds. Texas A&M, if it's going to be 8, it's going to be Texas A&M, and they're a team that they're sticking around. They're in that mix. They're in the conversation. They probably need to win another, a couple games here down the stretch and in the SEC tournament to feel good about it, but they certainly are still in the mix for an at-large bid come Selection Sunday. So I'll say 7 with the potential for 8.
Kelley Ford, good stuff as always. Make sure to follow him on X at KFord Ratings. Check him out, kfordratings.com. Kelley, I appreciate you moving around. I know we'll have to go next Wednesday. We'll be right in the thick of this, getting ready for the Southeastern Conference tournament and, of course, all the tournaments as we move towards Selection Sunday. So we'll touch all of that and more. I appreciate you so much, my friend. Have a great weekend.
Absolutely, Jake. You too. Appreciate it as always.
Thanks. Kelley Ford on your radio. And, of course, find him at kfordratings.com and, of course, KFord Ratings on X. We'll have Josh Pate coming up here in about 20 minutes. And we'll talk college football with Josh Pate of 247sports.com. All right, let's see here. Just a few minutes left. Let's look. 1, 2. All right, let me go back over to these notes. Forgot James Franklin is on this list, too. He's at 7th. And I think that's fair. I mean, James Franklin, James Franklin has done everything he needs to do except beat the big boys. That's where James Franklin has failed. All right, we'll get into some of this. Analyzing college football's optimal, toughest scenarios for debut Power 5 coaches, as there are some scenarios that are out there. Also, Beaver, I think it could be down to Nick Saban or Shedeur Sanders as the cover of the new football game. I bet it's going to be Shedeur. What do you think? Let me ask you a dumb question, though. Why would it be Shedeur and not Travis Hunter? Is Travis Hunter the best football player in college football? I think you can make that argument. Like, just pure player. Guy that can play offense, guy that can play defense. Why is his name not coming up for this? He'll be in the NFL draft next year. If healthy, he'll be a top 10 pick. But it looks like it could be Shedeur Sanders on the cover of Kirk Herbstreit ponders who it will be. And he says, I think Shedeur Sanders is a massive name and a big following. Well, all of that is true, Kurt. Also, Peyton Manning is pursuing Bill Belichick for Omaha Productions, per Andrew Marchand. If Belichick is on board, the subject of a potential GOAT cast, Nick Saban and Belichick could happen. What do you think about this? Would you listen to Saban and Belichick? You're not interested at all, right? I mean, I think everybody would listen to they would kill it for the first 2 or 3, but then they may check out of there. Lane Kiffin says that the portal is a disaster, even though it benefits Ole Miss a lot. Says we need reform. I think he is 100% correct. We're brought to you by Ranco Transmission, 1460 Old Brandon Road in Flowood, 601-939-9184, 50-plus years, foreign and domestic. Back in a bit.
WRKS Pickens Jackson, where it's
Time to take a ride. Yes, we're back with Jake Wimberly on the Afternoon Drive. It's live, it's local, and it's on
ESPN 105.9 The Zone and
online at thezone1059.com.
Hour 3 brought to you by Capitol Grill in Jackson, 5050 I-55 North Suite F. Capitol Grill, your afternoon and out your work door place and destination. 18 tables or 18 TVs and plenty of tables to get the game of your choice. Also, handcrafted foods, beverage specials like Michelob Ultra, Bud Light. Please drink responsibly. Get the lunches and everything and all the happenings, shall we say, at Capitol Grill. Go to CapitolGrillJackson.com. Make sure to find them on Facebook as well, and that way you can see what Lance and the team have dialed up for you. They'll have you covered for March Madness, all the sports you need. Enjoy at 5050 I-55 North Suite F. You can always call us on the Malone Roofing caller line, 601-897-1059. Kelley Ford, hour number 2. We'll have Josh Pate, Late Kick Josh, on next segment. We'll talk with him about several things in college football. Of course, you can find him on X at Late Kick Josh. A part of CBS Sports, and, of course, CBS Sports HQ is Late Kick Josh. All right, we'll get to that next segment. Let's move over here and look at a little NFL. You can always text us 601-885-3776. You know, this whole trade talk with Russell Wilson and everything else going on, Jordan Donji of CBSSports.com puts out his top 10 worst trades of all time in the NFL. And I want to go straight to see where he puts this Russell Wilson deal. And I'm chalking through here. Jeff George to the Falcons. Oh, is it at 1? Is it the worst? Actually, the worst is 2. Herschel Walker to the Vikings. Now, I haven't broken these things down like to the nth degree. Is in your opinion, the Russell Wilson worse than Herschel Walker? So if you remember the Herschel Walker, if you don't, it was the largest trade in NFL history and probably the worst. Rundown of the compensation thanks to Pro Football Hall of Fame. Herschel Walker from the Dallas Cowboys to the Minnesota Vikings. Also, now this was the worst as far as Vikings are concerned. The Cowboys got everything out of this. Walker to the Vikings. Dallas also traded its third-round choice in 1990. Its 10th round choice in 1990, and a third-round choice in 1991 to Minnesota. Minnesota traded linebacker Jesse Solomon, linebacker David Howard, cornerback Isaiah Holt, and defensive end Alex Stewart, along with its first-round choice in 1990, its second-round choice in 1990, its sixth-round choice in 1990, its first-round choice in 91, its second-round choice in 91, its first-round choice in 92, second-round choice in 92, third-round choice in 92 to Dallas. Minnesota traded running back Darren Nelson to Dallas, which traded Nelson to San Diego for the Chargers' fifth-round choice in 90, which Dallas sent to Minnesota. So a lot going on there. But ESPN made a documentary on this transaction calling it the Great Trade Robbery. It will always be known as just that unless the Seahawks win multiple Super Bowls off the Broncos picks. That is unbelievable. I could not remember that. 90, 91, and 92. First and second round picks. Man, no. How did they do that? Was Minnesota's front office that dumb? I mean, Herschel Walker, let's see, that was 19. Let me look at his. How good was Herschel Walker in 89? I mean, obviously, we know about how good Herschel Walker was, but in 1989, 915 yards and 7 touchdowns? Is that worth 6 picks plus everything else that was there? I mean, Herschel Walker for his career was 8,225 yards. I don't know. That whole thing is just wild. Wild. The number 2 is this Russell Wilson to the Broncos. The Broncos thought they found their quarterback of the future in Wilson and outbid everybody interested for the Super Bowl winning veteran in 2022. The Broncos sent the Seahawks a 2022 first round pick, 22 second round, 22 fifth, 23rd first, 23rd second, plus tight end Noah Fant, defensive lineman Shelby Harris, and Drew Lock, quarterback, in exchange for Wilson, and a 2022 fourth round pick. Before he played a single snap, the Broncos gave Wilson $245 million multi-year extension that was supposed to carry him through 2028. That one may be worse, just because of the money and everything else that's tied in. So after knowing both of those, which one would you go? I mean, I don't know that the Seahawks have really capitalized on this.
I'm still going to go with Minnesota just because we saw what all that became for the Cowboys. But that added little extension they gave him and all that money, that does put it up there. I'll still go with Minnesota. I think it edges that out, though.
Number 3, I won't bore you with this because most people won't remember. 1975, John Haddle to the Packers. Rams to the Packers. Number 4, Jeff George to the Falcons. A lot of you may remember this. The Colts traded with the Falcons to move up to number 1 overall in the 1990 NFL Draft for quarterback Jeff George. But after going 14-35 as a starter over 4 seasons, he was traded to the team the Colts traded with initially to acquire George, the Falcons. Atlanta was in the market for a new quarterback and sent Indianapolis a first-round pick, a third-round pick, a conditional future first-round pick, and a third round for George. The conditional selection turned into Marvin Harrison, by the way. As for George, he went 7-9 with Atlanta in 1994, then 9-7 in 95, a season which did include a playoff berth. However, the next season, 96, George got into a very public argument with Falcons head coach June Jones and was suspended for the rest of the season. Never played for the Falcons again. Oh, Jeff George.
Let's also couple that with, that was, 90?
Yeah.
Was it? So they traded for George. They gave up all that to get a quarterback in 90 that failed. And then 2 years later, they traded Brett Favre away. Excellent early 90s dealings, Falcons.
Yeah, Brett Favre is on this list at number 7. Brett Favre to the Falcons. Favre was selected by the Falcons in the second round in 1991. We know that. The NFL draft and attempted 4 passes for 0 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions his rookie season. Clearly some dysfunction with the Falcons, so the Packers approached them and sent a first-round pick in exchange for Favre. A first-round pick for a quarterback yet to complete a pass to the correct team and failed a physical after the trade seemed pretty ridiculous compensation, but it wasn't. Of course, we know the rest of Favre's career. Was that just a roll of the dice, or did somebody see something that Atlanta didn't in Favre and went, we can give him a first-round pick and we're going to win on this? You'd have to think somebody saw something. Louvier. Ditka was trying to be dumb like Minnesota when he traded for the rights to draft a Ricky Williams. Ouch. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, we got 3 in a row. Unnamed texter, Saints trade to draft Ricky Williams. Bust, poor old Mike Ditka. Worst decision. And then Space Ghost. Ricky Williams to the Saints. I'm trying to see, why is that one not on this list? That one is not on the top 10. It should be. Do you remember what all the Saints gave for that? I can't remember.
Every pick.
Was it every pick?
Every pick for that year.
My God. What happened to Ditka? I mean, he was rolling in the 80s. Walter Payton, Jimmy McMahon, the Fridge, the Super Bowl Shuffle, all that. And then that whole deal for Ricky Williams. That makes zero sense. Number 10 on this list, DeAndre Hopkins to the Cardinals. Number 9, Trent Richardson to the Colts. That's your boy, ain't it? Trent Richardson. Charles Haley to the Cowboys is on this list. Brett Favre to the Packers. Steve Largent to the Seahawks. We'll get into some more of these. Deshaun Watson to the Browns. Yeah, that's not turning out so well, is it? It's not. How much money did he get?
240, 245, all guaranteed.
Now, there's still room for them to win with this, but it's a small window. Hey, we're brought to you by Janney King. They are the king of cleans. Go to JanneyKingCleans.com for more information. Let them help you in your school, office, or place of worship. Any kind of venue, building, medical facility, office space. They can keep your building or facility clean and keep you clean yourself as far as germs, sickness, anything you like or don't like. You don't want that in your office. Go to JanneyKingCleans.com. Let them help you today. That's JanneyKingCleans.com. Timeout on the floor. Josh Pate coming up next.
With Jake Wimberly on the afternoon drive.
One of the last pure pleasures I have left in my life.
Yeah, maybe you ought to get a life first, okay? On ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
We're brought to you by Capital Orthopedic online at capitalortho.com. That's capitalortho.com, serving you in Flowood, Madison, Clinton, Brookhaven, Hazelhurst, and Kosciuszko. Move better, live better, and be better with Capital Orthopedic, 601-987-8200. We're also brought to you by Ameristar Casino in Vicksburg. Get out and play today. Josh Pate, make sure to find him on X at Late Kick Josh. It's the Late Kick Show with Josh Pate. Of course, you can get him on YouTube. CBS Sports HQ. Josh, welcome in, brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm trying to keep track of all the staff moves over there in your part of the country.
It's a lot, right? I mean, we got a new coach at Mississippi State, new assistants as well as Zach Arnett. Now moving over to hang out with Lane Kiffin for a little bit. And let's start here in the state of Mississippi. I hadn't talked with you in a bit, but obviously, everybody loves your show here. I just want to tell you that. A lot of people reference your show. You do a fantastic job with Late Kick, and I know you're 24/7 into college football, but haven't had a chance to chalk it up with you personally. So your thoughts on where Lane Kiffin is at, the transfer portal madness. This is, and I've said this and we'll continue to say it, it's likely the most anticipated offseason in Ole Miss football here since probably Eli Manning's senior year. So it's been a while. Are you on board with Ole Miss, college football playoff or bust, all the hype around Ole Miss?
Yeah, I can't believe that's where we are in the conversation. But, yeah, I think I am on board with that. And I'm normally the one who is shouting down egregious hype train type narratives this time of year, but I don't think that's egregious at all. And I don't think anyone inside that athletic department would disagree with you either. So if you think about it, this is one of the case studies right now in roster building and talent acquisition, because you've, of course, got the tried and true conventional method of building through recruiting. And I'm sure in Lane Kiffin's perfect world, that's what he'd love to do, but this is not a perfect world. And there are opportunities afforded you right now that they're taking full advantage of. Conversely, a program like Clemson is not taking advantage of it at all. And, results speak for themselves. But I think, to me, by 10 miles, the biggest that I've got with Ole Miss now is not the talent acquisition, because everyone's paying attention to that. It's not the preseason ranking, because everyone's paying attention to that. But, man, they have upgraded their staff. And we keep track of this internally. I mean, we've got our own proprietary method of grading coaching staff, and it is really, really rock solid and tested over the years. And if you account for the staff changes and then updated grading from last year, Ole Miss upgraded at all 11 spots on their coaching staff. They added 274 games coached across their staff. The defensive support staff grade we have on them, which means below the coordinator level, is upgraded. So not only have they positioned themselves roster-wise to hopefully hit a home run this year, Lane Kiffin has put together a coaching staff that's equipped to do that as well. So they're all in, and everyone's expectations should be all in on 2024.
Josh Pate on your radio, Wednesday edition of the program. Make sure to give him a follow on X at Late Kick Josh. Check out his show, The Late Kick with Josh Pate. You can find that in his bio as well. All right, so let's shift over to Starkville. A rebuild for sure. You can almost say ground floor because this thing looked really bad, really porous for Mississippi State this past year. With Jeff Lebby coming in, not as much accolades or as many accolades in the transfer portal, but he's worked the transfer portal. His staff has. It's going to be a different brand of football. What does that do for the Mississippi State in the win-loss column? That's yet to be determined. But your thoughts on where at least he is at in this process without coaching a down yet?
Yeah, that was the biggest unknown for me, just because of lack of experience. Sometimes people think when you have a lack of experience, you got a guy as a head coach for the first time, it's automatically a bad thing. Well, it's not always automatically a bad thing. Kirby, Ryan Day, Lincoln Riley once upon a time never had an ounce of head coaching experience, and they went 3 for 3 on being immediate home runs at their respective outposts. So is Jeff Lebby going to be that? I don't know. I will tell you my biggest area of concern with them is Lebby is a top 1% pace of play offensive coordinator, as a play caller, I mean. And so despite the fact that he's the head coach there, him calling plays, he's a top 1% pace of play guy. They run a ton of plays. When you combine that with a defensive coordinator who is in his position for the first time, historically, that spelled trouble. That's not a guarantee that it won't work out, but historically, those have been two things that I've paid attention to from a hiring and pairing perspective is if you got a new coordinator, what is the pace of play on the offensive side? And you got inexperienced defensive coordinator, you've got top 1% pace of play. So that's something to monitor. But by and large, I've asked around the industry, and I've gotten very little negative feedback about Lebby and whether he's prepared for this opportunity. Like, no one questions that. It's just the normal stuff you have to deal with being a head coach for the first time. And I also would argue whether you're at Mississippi State or whether you're at Notre Dame or anywhere in between, I don't think it's ever been harder to be a new head coach because I don't think there's ever been more on the plate of a head coach than there is today. And a lot of it has nothing to do with football. So there's that aspect as well. But I'm really excited just to see how it turns out.
No, I agree with you 100%. Let's shift over to Alabama, just 90 miles from Starkville. Of course, a lot of, there's always going to be media coverage, always going to be, Alabama's going to be front and center. Nick Saban comes out, makes some candid remarks about, his players and what they, the way they acted after the national championship game. And he's been pretty candid about getting out of college football. And those reasons are far and wide. But with Kalen DeBoer and the exodus in the transfer portal, now I would assume that they're going to work the transfer portal after spring practice in that short window. But how do we even quantify what this team could or could not be this coming year?
It's tough to not. It's tough to say it without knowing what they're going to do post spring, like you said. But I'll tell you the way I look at it. I have never seen DeBoer, tracking him all the way back to his NAIA days. He has never been in a position where he didn't maximize his quarterback's potential. Always does it. So it's pretty much a guarantee you're going to see improved play from Jalen Milroe. They've got a good quarterback room. Look, there's a kid named Dylan Lonergan over there that may end up transferring. That's just a name to keep an eye on because they loved what he looked like last year as a true freshman, even though you never saw him play in any games. So I think you can tell I've been paying attention to coaching moves a lot because they initially had Ryan Grubb and Scott Huff as the OC and the offensive line coach, respectively, when DeBoer first got there. I graded that as a top 3 staff nationally. Like, they killed it in hiring under DeBoer when he first got there. But when those two left, it knocked them down. Probably I'd grade him in the 10 to 15 range nationally right now. It's still a lower tier 1 staff in the SEC. But the biggest takeaway is DeBoer's an offensive guy, yet it's the defensive support staff grade that upgraded for Alabama. They did not have a very high-level defensive staff last year. And Nick Saban being the head coach hit a lot of that. I think Kevin Steele is the defensive coordinator. There was some stuff that kind of went on in the summer to where I don't think he was able to be as hands-on as he wanted to be. So defensively, they were mixing and matching all year, and it got overshadowed because the quarterback instability was the main event there at Alabama. But it's a minor miracle that team was in the playoff last year. So I think people expect drop-off, and that's fair when the best coach of all time walks out the door. I think they'll be a contender as early as this year. I don't think there is a ton of drop-off. And I think that also in due time, you'll find Kalen DeBoer adjusts to recruiting in the SEC probably a lot more seamlessly than some folks expect him to.
Let's get you on your way with this question. I appreciate your time as always. Way too early. If you're buying stock in a team or two, we'll see. The 12-team playoff's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see, who makes that thing. Are you buying stock? I wouldn't hold you to this as like a pick, but give me a couple teams. I mean, is it Texas? Are you looking at Georgia? Are you looking at Ohio State? Are you looking at Florida State? Maybe Oregon? It feels like a fairly wide open field with about 7 or 8 teams. I don't know that there's this one dominant team. You may disagree with me on that, and that's fine. But if you're buying stock today, just, early stock you're going to put in your pocket, who are you buying?
Love Ohio State, actually, because there is a growing narrative out there that's wrong, that they can't win the big one. Ryan, they can't do this and can't do that. And that's always a misused term. There is a very big difference in cannot versus have not. Once upon a time, Kirby was labeled as the cannot guy. He cannot get over the hump, cannot beat Saban. Well, that was always wrong. He just hadn't done it because it was hard to do. And then all of a sudden, he did it. And now he's won 2 titles, and everyone thinks he's the best in America, which he probably is. But the point is there were fractions of inches between being labeled cannot versus already he's done it. Well, Ryan Day's right there. And I'll tell you another one that's off the radar is Missouri, because Eli Drinkwitz lost some really, really good coaches. He lost Kevin Peoples, the defensive line coach, for example, went to LSU. I am huge on Kevin Peoples, not to mention his defensive coordinator leaving. And he goes down and he gets Brian Early out of Houston, which I got rated as a 4.5-star defensive line coach. And he actually upgraded, I think, his defensive coaching staff overall. And it's the 3rd biggest staff improvement grade I've got in the SEC. So, Missouri will be thought of as a one-hit wonder from last year. And they still got Luther Burden at wideout. They still got Brady Cook at quarterback. Defensively, they're not going to drop off. 12-team playoff. I think Missouri has a half-decent shot at making it this year.
Make sure to find him on X, Late Kick Josh. Get the show, The Late Kick with Josh Pate. And, of course, you can find his channel on YouTube. Of course, check it out in the bio as well. Josh, always appreciate your time. Stellar work, my friend. Look, have a great weekend. We'll do it again soon.
I appreciate it, brother.
Thanks so much. Josh Pate on your radio, brought to you by Sound and Communications, online at soundcomav.com. Been around since 1955. Large and small school sound systems, also so much more. Learn more today how they can help your business or place of worship or your government or medical facility. SoundComAV.com. Back in a bit.
It's time to get
Back in the game
with Jake Wimberly and the Afternoon Drive.
That's entertainment.
On the station that specializes in the Mississippi sports you love.
Now we're talking.
Live and local on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Appreciate Josh Pate, Late Kick Josh jumping in. We're brought to you by the MHSAA, officially become official today, 601-924-6400, MISSHSAA.com to learn more today. We're also brought to you by Clinton Body Shop, 601-924-2159, OEM factory certified, all the manufacturers you trust at Clinton Body Shop, Richland location as well. You can text us 601-885-3776. That is the Cowboy Maloney's text line. I do feel, talking about Josh, who are you buying stock in right now? He said Ohio State for sure. And he referenced Missouri. I think the SEC, again, the question is how many teams are they going to get in the playoff? How many teams is going to get in the playoff? I've got the SEC with 4 teams in the playoff. Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. And look, Alabama's going to be right there. They'll have a shot. They're going to be in some close ball games. If they can close those games, let me ask you this. Does the brand matter? Kelly Ford mentioned that. If Bama is 10-2 in the regular season, It's going to be, and Ole Miss is 10-2. They don't play each other this year. And there's one spot left. Would the Bama brand win out over Ole Miss? Now, I know you got to get into like what they did in their schedules and all this stuff, but just for this, is there something to that? Will the Bama brand give them the nod? Probably so. Probably so. You know, Missouri, I'm so torn on this. I mean, we saw what they did. I mean, they beat Ohio State, a watered-down Ohio State team in the Cotton Bowl. Won a ton of games. They got a lot of people back. Josh was referencing their staff, and, of course, Luther Burton is back. The quarterback is back. You still got to contend with LSU. I think Oklahoma's going to be extremely competitive in the league. It's going to be tough. I mean, there's going to be some teams right on the cusp. And I think, you know, if you go and look at strength of schedule, for instance, the numbers that I have, I mean, obviously Florida, number 1 strength of schedule. Georgia, number 2 strength of schedule. They play Clemson out the gate. They got to go to Texas. They play Ole Miss. They go to Alabama. That Georgia schedule, we don't talk about that enough. Georgia's schedule is pretty darn tough. I mean, Georgia's playing a man schedule. I mean, they play Clemson in the opener. They'll be favored. That's a neutral site ball game, but a 50-50 crowd. I mean, it's Clemson's going to travel. Georgia's going to travel. Tennessee Tech, Kentucky on the road, a bye week. They go to Bama, host Auburn, Mississippi State, go to Texas. Bye week, they get Florida in the cocktail party at Ole Miss, Tennessee, UMass, and Georgia Tech. I mean, there's some games out there that could get dicey for Georgia. You know, you look at the easiest schedules. I have Missouri with the easiest schedule in the conference. Texas, number 2, easiest schedule. Ole Miss, number 3. LSU, number 4. Tennessee, 5. That matters. I don't know. I think it's going to be splitting hairs with some of these teams. I think there's going to be an SEC team or 2 left out that could, you know, crying in their milk, so to speak. Let's see here. Unnamed texter talking about the going back to the NFL and the dumbest trades of all time. Saints' dumbest draft pick was Russell Elliman, punter in the first round, spent more years in prison than the NFL. Brad, hey, I know y'all are talking football trades, but the Bobby Bonilla baseball deal for $1 million per year for so many years after retiring is a trip. Oh, it is. That is a weird deal. There's another baseball player that's getting money like that, and I can't remember. Do you remember who it is?
It's Bobby Bonilla on top of Bobby Bonilla. Nothing, you know, it never gets talked about. He's got a second contract that is still paying him every year.
Really?
With the Orioles. He gets another $500,000. The Mets deal runs out in, I think it was 2034, 2035. He's got another deal with the Orioles that runs out 28, I think they said. But yeah, he gets paid $500,000 on top of his $1 million from the Mets. The Mets deal always gets talked about, but the Orioles deal. So this man is still making about $1.6 million a year, and he hadn't played since 2001, I think, 2002.
Got a heck of an agent, or had a heck of an agent. Whoever that guy is extremely smart and savvy. Unnamed texter, have you guys heard anything about Ole Miss hiring Zach Arnett as an Alice? Yes, that has happened. He is headed to Oxford. He will be in Oxford this year. I don't know the unnamed texter, so I'm not going to do him that way, but if that was Space Ghost, I'd have said welcome to 2 days ago. J-Rock, the Ole Miss soft schedule might keep them out. Depends. Like, what's their record? I mean, I think Ole Miss has got a chance to be 11-1 this year. That's what I have them pegged at right now. I think Ole Miss is, I mean, you look at this. Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest on the road, Georgia Southern, Kentucky, and South Carolina on the road. They really should be undefeated with LSU, LSU coming up before the bye week. They host Oklahoma, go to Arkansas, Georgia at home, off week, Florida, Mississippi State. Depends on where they're at. Let's see here. Louvier, Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. And the Jets. Ha! Go Saints. Love your show. Thank you, Louvier. He's never going to let me live that Jets thing down. But I still want to ask, can I get a mulligan? Can I get a mulligan off that?
Man, we just covered this two days ago, and the answer is no. Stop trying to make this a thing, man.
But it never happened. Like Literally, it never happened.
What never happened?
We never had a chance to see Aaron Rodgers manifest himself as the starting quarterback for the Jets.
It wouldn't have been a Super Bowl.
We don't know that.
No, we know this. Lou VA knows this. I know this. So many other people know this. Why don't you know this? I need you to know this.
And I haven't even thought about who my value pick is going to be. You know, I've got my college football champion in my head. I haven't told it yet.
That's another thing. Well, if you're not gonna give it, then stop talking about it.
Oh, I'm going to give it for sure.
I've got a champion. 48 hours. That's another thing. It's happened in the last 2 days here. I've been pumping that for 48 straight hours. I've got a champion. I've got a champion. Oh, I'm not going to tell you.
Well, I'm thinking of the right time to tell it.
It's now.
Is it?
Yes. Now is the right time.
Let me think about it. Let's see here. Real unnamed texter. And I got to pick my NFL champion because we'll make those bets at Ameristar later on. I think Ken Griffey has a deal with the Reds like Bonilla. That may be who I'm thinking about. Is it Ken Griffey? Does he have one of those?
He does. It runs out this year. He's been being paid, let's see. He left the Reds in 2008. Deferred payments from the Reds paid him from 2009 to 2024.
2009 to that's a heck of a contract. And he didn't play a bit of that. Dexter. Lou Ding made $9 million for 4 seasons. He did not play in the NBA. Crazy money. That is. Some of these are just crazy deals. Unnamed texter says Texas. I can't tell you if Texas is my pick or not. I like Texas. There's a lot of teams that I like. Toddy, Jake, please don't pick Ole Miss. Chief Shooting Bull. Well, for the first time, let's lump me in with Space Ghost because I didn't know about the Arnett thing. That's Chief Shooting Bull. We'll put you in the time machine. Toddy says I will jinx Ole Miss. Now, Toddy, I just picked Michigan last year. Ole Miss probably doesn't want my ringing endorsement, though. JC. Jake, I'm trying to save you a lot of heartburn. Yet you continue to believe Ole Miss propaganda. They perpetually snatch defeat from the jaws of victory when there is expectations. They are losers. It's what they do. Their entire university is built upon... Wow. JC, you went way deep off into this thing. One of the biggest losses of all time, you're talking about Ole Miss being in the South. Also, I haven't heard you talk about how bad Florida is going to be in a while. So let me ask you this.
Nope.
JC, you know I can't answer that. The first one. JC's coming with some heat today. Is he listening to the Creed today? He must be listening to the Creed. Hey, we're brought to you by our friends at Williams Newman Williams. When you need a win, car wreck, truck accident, nursing home neglect, online at WNWlegal.com. Learn more how they can help you. That's Williams Newman Williams here in Jackson, WNWlegal.com. Back in a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come to go
Back to the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly. With the hottest sports stories of the day.
For one of those moments, it only happens
Right here. On ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Final segment on a Wednesday. Brought to you by Mac Ike and Madison Gluckstadt. Go to MacIkeMadison.com. The best selections of new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Chevrolets in the area. Also, the largest selection of pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs to fit all of your needs. And, of course, don't miss these offers up to $20,000 off, 0% financing for 72 months available now. And, of course, get over and learn more today at MacIkeMadison.com. Also on site as well. Appreciate Kelley Ford, Josh Pate. We'll get all that up tomorrow as we move through the week. Let me see here. Rhett Cetera. If you're lazy, talking about picking champions, you're picking Georgia, but Jake likes a chance at the real money, so I'm going to guess He's picking Oregon. They're in the mix. There's a mix. There is a mix. Oregon's going to be good. Oregon is going to be scary good. Do they check the box, though? That's what you got to start asking. Like, do the teams check the box? Last year a lot of people talked about USC. USC, there were so many boxes they didn't check. When you look at Oregon, they check a lot of boxes. Well, some of the boxes they check, recruiting is one. One of the top 5 teams in the country, transfer portal plus recruiting. Dan Lanning has done a great job coaching. Dylan Gabriel is my number 1 quarterback in the Power 5. Offensive efficiency last year, 2nd in the country, 15th defensively. They're right there on those. They check all the boxes, honestly. But Georgia checks a lot of boxes. Ohio State checks those boxes. Texas. Ohio State. I mean, and again, we just mentioned that Florida State is in a lot of those boxes. If you were picking a champion today, who would you pick? I'm not going to hold you to it. Based on what we know today, on March 6th.
My God, I really want to lean into Oregon. And I feel like after all this hubbub and hullabaloo and nonsense that you're making me wait over there, I feel like you're going to go Oregon too.
They've never won a championship. There's a first time for everything. I don't know. We'll see. Bill, I want to know what Beaver's national championship pick is. His Longhorns are looking pretty good. You ready to ride with Bebo?
No, certainly not. Bill,
Why not?
Get me off this Texas train, Bill.
What is wrong with Texas?
Everything.
I could see you saying that if they were coming off a bad year. They just went to the playoff. They were just literally a couple plays from playing for the whole thing.
Couple of plays?
Well, ish.
They were like 11 plays from playing for the whole thing.
They were close. J-Rock. Jake, we know you're staying in the Big Ten, going with the Buckeyes play. I don't know that I'm staying in the Big Ten. See, the bad thing about picking this Michigan pick last year is I was unfalsely accused of being a Big Ten homer. That is not true.
You said it. You said it right there.
Or
you just said
accused.
I was unfalsely accused.
Falsely accused.
Yep. Accurate.
I'm not a Big Ten homer. I just think the Big Ten is much better than a lot of people in the South give them credit for. People in the South, Big Ten. That's what they do. And I get it, because forever, Big Ten hasn't won a national title until now. Now, Michigan is not going to be in this picture this year. This is not even the same Michigan team. There'll be a nice Michigan team. They have moved back to nice. They've gone from champion to nice. Chief Shooting Bowl. I think Jakester picks Ohio State. They're in the thick of it. I'm telling you, I think if you played a round robin, you could go Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas. Notre Dame is going to be right there, believe it or not. I don't know if they have it yet. Depends on how Riley Leonard plays at quarterback. Transfer from Duke. Notre Dame's going to be there. They're going to be in the party. But can Notre Dame do what Michigan failed to do, but finally did? Can they actually play competitive ball when they get there? Rhett Cetera. Come to the dark side, gentlemen. This year, we put our Ducats on the Ducats on the Ducks. I like the way he did that. So I think Rhett is putting all of his Ducats in the Duck camp. He's going with the Greens. He's going with the Ducks. It's not a bad pick. RT says Ohio State has the most talent. They have well, see, it's so thin. Georgia has as much talent as Ohio State. Oregon, their talent is as good as Ohio State. Texas is right there. I mean, nobody. That's what I'm saying. Nobody is head and shoulders at the top better than the other. Like really just head and shoulders. Do you believe that? Now, I'm not saying there's a Cinderella, but I'm saying there's a group of teams. There's a group of players at the poker table, and it ain't that many. They're all pretty close.
All I'm thinking about is I said I think you're going to go Oregon. No, I feel like you're going Texas now. It's either going to be Oregon or Texas. I'm not going to come back until you make this big, quote unquote, big announcement that you keep teasing.
Come back.
Because I'm tired of hearing about it.
Like,
I won't run another minute of this show. So if you...
Good Lord.
Yeah. How about that?
You're going to make me punch this piece out on my website because I wanted to put the piece out first, and then that way it'll be out there for people to read. You're going to make me do this in the next 24 hours.
I can't sit here and hear this anymore.
Let me see if I can roll this thing out by tomorrow. Because I got to have you to run the show. Like I have no pilot.
Well, actually, I'm told that I am nothing more than a board op.
Really?
Yeah, that's our manager's thought. So, hey.
You can't pay attention to managers. They just manage.
So I'm not that important. So if you may not need me. Just bring in some random jabron and you don't have to you can keep saying, I've got the national champion. It's in my brain. My luscious brain, but I'm not going to give it to you, peasants.
All right, fine. I will do this tomorrow.
I've done it. I've beat you down.
Nope.
I won.
Never mind.
I win. Feel good about this.
Dead gummit. All right, tomorrow it is. Space Ghost. Go Buckeyes. Bulldog 44. The Expos traded Randy Johnson for Mark Langston. Also, nobody has ever had an agent that can top Jimbo Fisher's. That is true, right? I mean, there's no doubt about it. I forgot about that Randy Johnson trade. Let's see, et cetera. My grudge favorite this year is Georgia because I would like to see Matt Luke fill up one hand with the Natty Rings before Kiffin smells the playoff. RT, Will Rogers will be crushed if he picks Texas. Jake can't handle that. What is he talking about? Will Rogers.
Where Will Rogers fits into all this.
JC is on a roll today. And let's see real quick. Mr. DX, bet the house on the 49ers. Toddy, Jake, your Michigan pick was like a blind squirrel finding a nut. Oh, Toddy, you just wait. I guess until tomorrow. I'm going to give you a stone-cold lock that is better than that. Rafael Esparza, Jake, biggest Big Ten homer. We'll have him tomorrow, by the way. Dog-tired Florence Beaver, kudos on the extortion. Thanks to Kelley Ford, Josh Pate. Remember, ketchup is king. Bacon's a delicacy. Aloha means goodbye. Be a man of increase. I'll give you a championship pick tomorrow because I want a show and I'm getting extorted. Good night.